first I'd like to thank Charlene and Alan and everybody who worked so hard to put this program together, this conference. It's been wonderful seeing everybody. Dr. Baker, continuing his legacy, he would have been so happy to see everyone together sharing wisdom and enjoying each other's company. And so this is a good thing. You did a real good thing. Thank you. Thank you. And one of the things that Dr. Baker said to all his students all the time was, you might know the esoteric sciences and you might know all the ancient wisdom teachings, but it's really no good until you can actually put it into use in your daily life or to help people out. So I think that's why this conference is so important right now. And I think Charlene and Alan named it very, very appropriately for these times. Wisdom for a world in transition. You can't get more perfect than that. And yeah, we're definitely going through some major transitions right now and changes. And I think even average man, people that aren't interested in the esoterics even know this. I mean, it's just so evident. So change can often be scary, but through the wisdom teachings and the new discoveries we're getting through science and everywhere else, it's a very exciting time to be alive right now. It truly is. And I think we're living in these quote unquote the biblical times of these changes. So that's pretty cool that we're all here at this point in time. But we're not alone. We're told that the masters are always with us. They watch over us as humanity and they watch over our planet and they help us out. So every century, at the beginning of every new century, they usually give out a key for us to guide us and to show us, oh, thank you. So the masters give out a key usually at the beginning of every century. And the key that they choose to give out is something that will help guide us and navigate us through these changes. So there are specific keys that they try to give out. For example, in the 19th century, the key was magic. And I pondered on this for a while. Why magic? Why would they give us magic as a key? Well, then I got to thinking, before the 19th century, man was living day to day just to survive. They wake up in the morning, they milk their cow, they chop their wood, plant their crops, and they just lived to survive. They lived to be in this world, to stay and maintain in this solid physical existence. But when the Industrial Revolution came in towards the end of the 17th century, 1700s and beginning of the 1800s, it really changed the way man lived because the machinery took a lot of his physical labor away, which freed up his time, gave him time to look into other things, have other interests. And magic was an awesome way to allure the masses of the people because it gave them seances and ectoplasmic materializations and brought them into the spiritual world. It showed them there was more to life than the mundane, everyday drudgery of physical existence, that we were more than just a physical body, that there was mystery to us. So the 19th century, it was magic. Then came the 20th century. In the 20th century, the key was psychology, which brought us even further away from the outer world and more towards us inwardly. We looked at the mind, we looked at behaviors, and what was spoken of yesterday also were Jung's archetypes, the collective conscious, the collective unconscious of mankind through Jung. We had Maslow with his hierarchy of needs, culminating in self-actualization. We had Assagioli, who offered us psychosynthesis, the connection of the soul and the personality together. So psychology also brought us more inwardly. Well, now we're in the 21st century, and the key to the 21st century is quantum physics. And what does quantum physics do but bring us more inward, not only more inward, but way inward into the subatomic level of our existence. And it helps to reveal the hidden esoteric secrets in nature that have been covered up for so long. Only the initiates used to know this knowledge. It's coming out now for the masses. We're obviously ready for it. So that's kind of a cool thing, like I said, to be around right now and see all that. So, so today, what I'm going to do is, through the teachings of the ancient wisdom and quantum science and some very highly refined clairvoyant observations, we're going to look into the subatomic world at the most fundamental particle that creates all life and matter in our universe. Quantum physics calls it the quark, and the Theosophists have called it the Anu. So in fact, in the early 1900s, an affirmation called the Universal Invocation was given out by a Theosophist and clairvoyant named Annie Besant. And in this invocation, she is summoning the hidden life and force that enlivens every atom. This invocation speaks to the idea that there is a universal, unseen life force that is present and active within every particle of existence, connecting all things as one. And it goes as such. O hidden life, vibrant in every atom. O hidden light, shining in every creature. O hidden love, embracing all in oneness. May all who feel themselves as one with thee know they are therefore one with every other. And these little points of light that she's speaking of are the quarks that we're going to be talking about today. And the pictures that I have up here on the right-hand side is coming from quantum physics. They're actually photographs of these particles. And on the left is a drawing that was made by one of the clairvoyants, also showing this specific particle that we're going to be talking about. So I figured we should start our story at the very beginning, when all matter and life in our universe appeared. Science called it the Big Bang, and ancient wisdom refers to it as one day of Brahma. Ancient wisdom says that Brahma is the creator of our universe and all things within it. And when Brahma awakens, our universe is born anew and a new cycle of life begins. What they basically are saying is Brahma lives like us. He wakes up in the morning, he lives his day, and then he goes to bed at night just like we do and wakes up on another day. The only difference is our day is 24 hours long. His is 4,320,000,000 years long. So it's a long day. But just like us, at the end of his day, he goes into a rest period. He goes into obscuration and repose. And during that time, what he does is he assimilates and absorbs everything that he's experienced in that one day, so that when he wakes up anew in the next day, he can bring it forward and learn from it and move on and perfect it. Just like we do. You know, we wake up in the morning, we bring all our memories and all our trials and tribulations and our victories with us. And we always try to just make every new day a little bit better, you know, and perfect on it. Okay, so science tells us that our universe is 26.7 billion years old, which approximately is 6 days of Brahma. We're told that Brahma begins every new day with a great breath. Science calls this breath the Big Bang. And what the Big Bang or breath does is it creates a great vibration that sets everything in our universe into waking mode. It sets it into motion. Just like us taking a breath at the beginning of the day, big breath, it kind of wakes us up, all our cells and everything. It's like we're in waking mode now. And that's what the universe does, no different. Brahma does this in the universe. And the vibration that it creates is called the Word in the Bible. And the Word was with God, and God was the Word. And then there was light. And light is the quarks that we're going to be talking about, which happen milliseconds after the Big Bang, after the vibration. So the word or the vibration occurs, and it sets into motion a very hot, expanding soup of fundamental particles called quarks or quark gluons. Science calls this hot expanding soup of fundamental particles the plasma. They're just giving it a general term now. And the plasma is what all life and matter in our universe comes from these little quark gluons. So after the Big Bang, within milliseconds, immediately following it, the quarks appear, the quark gluons appear. A few milliseconds later, these quark gluons begin to form protons and neutrons. And this is as this hot expanding soup is starting to cool just a bit. So it's all cooling down now. 3 minutes later, these quarks are now creating the low mass nuclei. And the nuclei come together through a process called nuclear synthesis. Now, it isn't until 300,000 years later that the atoms begin to form, the very first atoms, 300,000 years later. 1,000,000 years later, the first stars are formed. 500 million years later, the first galaxies are formed. And 4 billion years later, star formation peaks in our universe. Now remember, Brahma's day is 4,320 million years. So once he reaches that peak formation of the stars, he's still got 320 million years to do something with them. So now, every quark contains within itself an entire blueprint and the material that it's going to need to construct the form and life that it will play out in our universe. And every quark has within itself 3 aspects or qualities that will determine the essence of its nature. And these 3 aspects or qualities are spirit, consciousness, and matter. You may have also heard them called the Holy Trinity of God, the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Or, as Theosophists would say, Ray 1, Ray 2, and Ray 3. Now, these 3 qualities blend together. They don't exist separate. I mean, they are separate, but they blend together. And they blend together in different proportions, variations, vibrations, and their natures are different a little bit. Some quarks may have more spirit and less matter to them. They may be conscious or unconscious, or somewhere within that spectrum. Some quarks might be more dense and have more physical matter and less spiritual matter in them. But what makes human beings so remarkable is that in every single atom and quark within our bodies, we have an equal blending, an equal proportion of spirit, consciousness, and matter within ourselves. Yes. Now, the wisdom teachings maintain that matter is only temporary, that form and matter exist as long as they are ensouled by consciousness to fulfill a certain purpose. If consciousness is withdrawn, then form and matter cease to exist. That's what the ancient wisdom has told us. Science verifies it now. They verify it through a phenomenon called the observer effect. Have you all heard of the observer effect? I think everybody by now. See, this is all becoming common knowledge to everyone, right? The observer effect, where whoever is observing it, a particle, or measuring it, affects how it's going to respond or react. And the unobserved particles usually exhibit more of a wave-like property, where the observed particle seems to have to make a single choice, whether it will remain wave-like or whether it will become more of a particle. So that's what the observer phenomenon is all about. So in Madame Blavatsky's book, The Secret Doctrine, she says that light is matter and darkness is pure spirit. She also says the Immaculate Conception is primordial substance plus divine fire, which creates life or living manifestation. So no matter how you say it, the union of these 3 aspects, spirit, consciousness, and matter, manifests itself on this cosmic physical plane as life in some form or another, whether it's conscious or unconscious. And it was talked about yesterday with the postulates, hylozoism, everything in our universe is alive. So. Now, what is the purpose of the quark? What is its purpose? Well, we live in a duality. It has a dual purpose. First, to unfold the life and consciousness that it carries within itself. And second, to allow gradual growth of perfection of matter and form of life and consciousness that's also within it. So this photo was captured by the Large Hadron Particle Collider back in July of 2012. Are you all familiar with the Hadron Collider before I go on? It's okay. Some people aren't. So let me explain. The Hadron Collider is a particle accelerator for subatomic particles. And they built a 17-mile circular tunnel under Switzerland and France. And through magnetic fields and radio frequencies, they sped these particles up to nearly the speed of light and smashed them together to crack open the atom so they could look inside of it and see what they would see. This is a picture of what they found when they did this with a hydrogen atom. So this large picture here is actually the proton of a hydrogen atom. And within it, you see 3 points of light, which are the quarks we're talking about. The squiggly lines that are connecting them are called gluons. Those are also quarks. They're just not particles. They're force carriers. And you have to have those to hold those particles together. So they're both different types of quarks, but they're both quarks. To get a better perspective, I always have to use my visuals. You remember basic science. So on the right, I have the atom, picture of the atom. Inside the atom is the nucleus. Inside the nucleus is the proton and neutron. And inside the proton is where these quarks or points of light reside. And it's interesting if you look at this photograph here, the symmetry is amazing. I mean, everything in nature is symmetrical. I think Scott was talking about the different measurements and Fibonacci codes and all that. And it's just, I mean, here it is. We can see the symmetry. It's just absolutely perfect. So now, you know what? We're going to go back to the year 1895, 130 years before the Hadron Collider. And we're going to look at two remarkable and highly refined clairvoyants, Annie Besant and C.W. Leadbeater, and look at who were asked, they were Theosophists, they were asked to look for the existence of a particle that all matter is built from with their clairvoyant vision. So they rose to the occasion. They not only identified the fundamental particle, the quark, they also identified all 95 elements on the periodic table at that time. And now we have, I think, about 118 elements, if I'm not mistaken, on our periodic table. Back then, it was only 95. They identified and documented all of those. They not only did that, they also identified and documented crystals, chemical compounds, and complex molecules. And they recorded their findings together in a book called Occult Chemistry, which was published in 1908. So let's take a look at what they saw and what they drew. Again, we're looking at a hydrogen atom, and we're looking at the hydrogen atom's proton. Within the proton, the quarks that reside are the points of light. This is where I hope I can make this work. Oh, good, it works, I think. Oh, wait, do I have to hold it? Yeah, okay. So here's the proton, the large circle on the collider's picture. And here's their proton, the big circle. And within the circle, we see these points of light, these 3 points of light. And here they are, 1, 2, 3. And the gluons or squiggly lines here, they drew them as straight lines. Okay. What they noticed, you'll see two sets of these. They noticed that the quarks, every quark had a mirror image of itself, as above, so below, male and female, you know? And what happened was when they were observing these particles, they noticed that they were rapid, that these little points of light were bound together in rapid orbital motion. And they needed to slow them down so they could actually take a look at these particles in more detail. So they used their will and literally slowed down the particles to see what they looked like. And what they found were heart-shaped units in these. Looking deeper into this is what you would see, heart-shaped units, this is exactly what it looked like here and here. And the reason they put a plus or minus into these had to do with their rotational spin. So if these heart-shaped units were spinning to the right, they put a plus sign in it. If they were spinning to the left, they put a minus sign, male and female. And what's interesting, and this is also showing the same thing, showing the positive spin and the negative spin. Quantum also has seen, and they verify this, they call it proton and antiproton, or quark and antiquark. They say for every quark, there's an antiquark. And that's exactly what they were seeing here in their drawing, and where you see the plus in this area, that's like the quark, and this is the antiquark. So very, very interesting that they saw that in such detail. They also noted the symmetry of these particles. That was something else they also noted in their book. Now, 30 years before Leadbeater and Besant took a look at these particles, and 147 years before the Hadron Collider, an American physician named Dr. Edwin Babbitt used his clairvoyant vision to look for a fundamental building block particle. And what he saw and drew, again, was the heart shape. He saw the heart shape, a heart-shaped unit. But he said it wasn't a particle at all. He said it was a vortex of energy. And in his drawing, he also has, do this if I can do it, the negative pole to the positive pole. He said energy was flowing into the negative pole and out the positive pole, and this particle was spinning. It was like a vortex of energy. And he said, in fact, he called that vortex of energy a torrent. He said there was a torrent of energy flowing through these, making them move. And he said, in fact, there was no material at all, that everything was just circulating energy. So now that we're acquainted with the quark and we know kind of what it looks like and where it's located, I'd like to bring our attention to our solar system. Like, how is this going to relate to us? Again, Baker always said, make it relate to you and make it relevant for the times. So I'm going to try and do that. And yesterday we had a most wonderful, this is flowing right in from yesterday. We already saw all the cosmic planes that were much nicer done than what I have here, but I colored them in. But the point is that we need to remember here is that we live in a septenary, our solar system is septenary in nature. And we live in our solar system, so we also are septenary in nature, meaning we're composed of 7 parts, which make the whole, whether it's groups of 7, multiples of 7, whatever, but it's 7 sevens. And every one of these planes that we're showing here, the logoic, monadic, atomic, buddhic, monastic, astral, and physical etheric, all of these planes have within them 7 subplanes, which we learned yesterday also in better diagrams. But they're not so much that they're on separate levels. It has to do with their density. Some are vibrating faster and are lighter in density. And as you come down through the planes, that's when you hit the rock bottom, which is the physical, dense, solid physical plane. And they all intermingle with each other too. They're not, one doesn't go one way, one the other. They all intermingle with each other, especially the ones that are above and below. So like if you're on the monastic plane, there's a little mingling of that Buddhic plane coming in, or if you're on the astral plane, little lower mental coming in, that type of thing. But what I'd like you to get out of this is that the quarks exist on every single plane and every single subplane. So now we're going to take a look at the actual anatomy of a quark. And again, this is from Babbitt's drawing, I think. I think this one's Babbitt's drawing. And so we see the heart shape. And this is from the clairvoyant perspective, because I don't know if quantum has done this yet. I haven't found any pictures this elaborate, going this subatomic, going deeper. So every quark is made up of 10 whorls. This is what they were looking at, 10 whorls. Each whorl was a different color. That represents the different planes that they're coming from. Each whorl is made of 7 smaller whorls called spirali. This is the spirali. They coil around, all those different planes with their quarks coil around each other over that main torrent or flow of energy that makes them move. So, and the last or 7th spirali consists of 7 hollow bubbles. Now, science confirms what these findings are. They say that 99% of all solid matter is made up of empty space within which the atoms and subatomic particles behave as vortices of energy. This is the vortex of energy that Babbitt was talking about. An interesting new finding now is quantum is now saying that within every proton of every atom is a miniature black hole. This is big. This is really big. This is how we probably go into different layers of consciousness, different planes and that type of thing. So that's a big finding right now. So we're going to look at the spirali, this here, and the little things. And in every single quark, there are 7 sets of spirali. Each set comes from one of the 7 planes. The first set comes from the physical plane and corresponds to and affects the physical body. It's also the largest coil. The second set comes from the etheric plane and affects the etheric body, but it also affects the physical body because our etheric body lies within like 6 inches of the physical, dense physical body. In the etheric body, that's where your nadis are located. I think Dieter talked about that, about the nadis and nerves. And the physical body has the nerves, so it's the counterpart. Same with the chakras. That's where the 4 centers come in. That's what the etheric body vitalizes the physical body. The third set comes from the astral plane and has emotional substance. And it also carries with it a magnetic nature. So our emotions are magnetic. The fourth set comes from the fourth set's kind of special. It comes from both the astral plane and the lower mental plane. And what it does is it creates something called the kama manas, or the desire body, and lower mind. So this is a pretty special set of spirali because it's what is used for the building of the human brain as the instrument of thought. That fourth set, the astral and lower mental plane, the kama manas. The fifth set comes from the higher mental plane and carries with it abstract mind and an electrical nature because it's mental. Mental is always electrical nature. That plane carries electricity with it. The sixth set comes from the Buddhic plane and carries our higher consciousness, intuition, compassion, love, wisdom. That's the type of substance that comes with that set of spirali. The seventh set comes from the monadic plane, even higher, and carries with it spiritual will. So if we get nothing else out of this lecture today, I think the thing I'd like to impress most is looking at our nature as far as our emotions and our thoughts. Thought is electric, emotion is magnetic. So what we think and how we feel, the magnetic part of that emotion draws our thoughts to us. And as we saw, nature likes to mirror itself, right? They said quark, anti-quark. So as above, so below, so within, so without. So whatever our thoughts are and our emotions are creates the reality that we're living in personally, and then collectively. So this is very, very important. Simply put, energy follows thought. Really big statement, something to think about. Energy follows thought, which is actually one of the 20 maxims of exoteric healing. Energy follows thought. Now, Baker said that we should live a meditative way of life. So what did he mean by that? Well, this is exactly what he meant by it. We need to be aware and conscious. To expand our consciousness, we need to be aware of our thoughts and our emotions, and we need to keep them in check. Don't have too much thought going on. Don't have too much emotion going on. Find that middle way, that middle groove, and live your life through that non-reactive. Don't respond, but react. So live your life in that middle way. And I think Mabel Collins, somebody brought up Mabel Collins yesterday, but Mabel Collins, who is another theosophist, in her book, Idol of the White Lotus, appropriately stated that each man is his absolute own lawgiver, that he is the dispenser of glory or gloom to himself, the decreer of his life, his reward, and his punishment. And this is real important. Like I said, this is the crux of what my lecture is all about, how it's going to affect us. It's bringing our awareness to know that every single atom in our body responds. Everything. And it reflects out within and without. So something else very special about our spirali. We can actually use them as a gauge to gauge where we're at on our human development and spiritual path. Now, we said that there are 7 sets of spirali within every single quark, but not all of them are vivified and active. Some are dormant. In fact, an average man right now, the first, second, third, and fourth sets of spirali are active and vivified. First set being the physical body, right? Physical. Second being associated with the etheric body. Third is the astral emotional body. And fourth is the lower mental body. Now, as we evolve, the 5th, 6th, and 7th sets of spirali start to become activated. The 5th set being the higher mental or abstract thought. People like Einstein probably had an active fifth spirali. But 5th, 6th, and 7th, 5th is the higher mental. 6th would be the Buddhic, the love, compassion. You'll see that in like those that are, like the lamas and those type of people. The 7th set of spirali is bringing in the spiritual divine will. That would be like Jesus. All these great avatars that come in have all 7 sets of spirali active. It's good to know this because there are ways that we can speed up our evolution and kick these higher sets of spirali into gear. One is through, for example, Raja Yoga, the way we live, right? Living a meditative way of life, noticing things. Breath work stimulates these spirali. Selfless service, not just service, but selfless service to mankind. And of course, studying the occult classics, which is what we're doing here this whole weekend, we're stimulating that higher mind, that 5th set of spirali. So, or we don't have to do any of this. We can just kick back and have a drink and just let it happen naturally, but it will take quite a long time. Although we're kind of getting there in the fifth round here, those that know the planetary schemes, by the sixth round, everybody will naturally, those spirali will be kicked in by the end of the sixth round. So we're eventually getting there. So if we don't feel like working this time around, we'll eventually get there. Just take a little time. So now we're going to just look at the cosmic physical plane. And we looked at that yesterday, and we know that every plane has 7 subplanes. So on the cosmic level, which is where we're at here on this solid ground, we have solid, solid is at the bottom, of course, solid, liquid, gas, ionic. Then we have the third etheric, second etheric, first etheric, and then above that starts the astral. So this is just another picture of looking at the same thing: physical plane, solid, liquid, gas, ionic, and then the 3 etherics: subatomic level, neutrino, electron, and then up here starts the, or finer vibration and density starts the astral plane. Now, the reason why I brought us to this physical plane is because I thought it would be fun to look and see how a quark actually materializes itself onto the physical plane. How does that happen? Well, the clairvoyants also wondered that, so they watched it and they observed it. And what Leadbeater and Besant found was that only when 40, again, we're talking sevens, only when 49 quarks came together and formed sort of a nucleus, did one of them take energy from the rest and create itself on the into physical form as a physical particle or atom. And for every one atom that appeared onto the physical plane, one atom went back up into the astral plane to energize 49 more quarks there. So they were witnessing the balance of nature, the dance of Shiva and Shakti, the dynamic forces that drive our universe, the interplay between masculine and feminine. The dance represents the unity of passive and active forces, stillness and motion, form and formlessness, destruction and creation. I had to do this one. Sorry, guys. Whenever I do science talk, I got to put Einstein in it. I mean, you can't have a science talk without E equals MC squared. And, and we all know, common knowledge now, energy and mass are interchangeable. So, so it takes a lot of energy that we saw from what Leadbeater and Besant witnessed. It takes a lot of energy for a quark to create itself on the physical plane, maintain itself, and then it's destroyed and recreated again. So I thought it would be fun to just think about how much energy it would take for a single piece of fudge candy to materialize itself on the physical plane. Well, we'd have to weigh the candy, and then we'd have to times it by the speed of light squared. That would give us how much energy it takes for a piece of fudge to stay and be materialized here on this physical plane. That's a piece of fudge candy. What about us? Look at our physical bodies. Look at nature. Look at the trees. Look at everything around us. It's amazing, you know, how much it takes to create, maintain, destroy, and recreate. It's a process that's going on everywhere around us and within us constantly. That's what we're experiencing as human beings. This process is known as spiritual staying power. And I believe somebody brought that up yesterday also, spiritual staying power. This is the name of the game, spiritual staying power, bringing spirit into matter and allowing it to manifest and take hold on the physical plane. And we're pretty much experts at this point. And now we're trying to go back up into spirit because we've hit the nadir of our human development, and now we're kind of on our way back into spirit. And that's why I think this information is being given out now, so we can actually see that on the subatomic level. I mean, we can see it in everything. So another example of how amazing we are is that there are 100 trillion atoms in one human cell. One cell. 100 trillion atoms. Think about all the points of light, all the quarks that are in those atoms. And there are 100 trillion cells in the human body. When they say we're light beings, we certainly are light beings. And this is a very, very good example of that. So before I finish the talk, I'm going to just say a few more things about quarks, only because I'm just giving some info here. I think it's really cool. Science doesn't know what to name these things. So they say now that we have 6 different flavors of quark. We have the up, the down, the strange, the charm, the top, the bottom. But I want you to remember the charm quark, because she's a little bit, or he's a little bit, I don't know which way she spins or he spins, but the charm quark is going to be a special quark, and it is a special quark because it may contribute to life force. You know what we call prana, chi? They're thinking that it might be coming somehow mediated through charm. Now, some say that charm is an energy arising from the interaction between certain particles. Some say that it's the energy given off by decaying quarks. And others say that it's an energy given off when neutrinos pass through all the quarks, thereby evoking the energy of charm. And neutrinos are also quarks. They're just very light, electrically neutral, and they're very elusive and abundant everywhere. Trillions of neutrinos pass through our body every second. So they're abundant. And so you could see why, if it triggers charm and it creates a life force, that makes sense. Quarks, as we said, also have mass, electric charge, and spin. I just thought these were really cute pictures. Had to put that in for fun. Science can get a little boring, so. Oops, I think I need to go. Yeah, I think we're good. Okay, so there are 2 types of quarks, and I kind of mentioned it at the beginning of the talk. There are the particle quarks and the force carrier quarks. The particle quarks are known as fermions, and the force carriers are bosons. So if we look at this picture again of the proton, and we see the quarks, these lights, these would be the fermions. They're actual particles. The squiggly lines are the forces, are the quarks that mediate, the forces that hold or glue them together. That's why they're called gluons. And gluons are bosons. So the gluons are the force carrier, and these quark particles are the matter. And from the matter, we get, the hadrons, the mesons, the nuclei, the atoms, the molecules. The force carriers are the strong and weak electromagnetic gravity. They carry these forces with them. So you'll never see any of these alone. There's always a particle and a force quark together. And we'll see that in the next drawing, because it takes 2 to tango. This is the way I like to remember it. Basically, for every fermion or matter particle, there is a boson or force that accompanies it, holds it together. Takes 2 to tango. And this is the dance in life right here. This is it. So this was brought up yesterday, but again, we must obviously need to see this again, because it was in my lecture too. When we look at what we discussed today, all the ordinary matter is the stars, the galaxies, the planets, us. This is ordinary matter. It only amounts to 4.9% of our entire universe. The rest of our universe, the 95.1% left of our universe, is made of dark matter and dark energy. Of course, it was mentioned yesterday, science isn't sure yet what they can't assess the dark matter and dark energy yet. However, we have Dr. Baker. And Dr. Baker suggests that dark energy is mental energy, which means it contains mental substance. abstract thought, mind, and it carries an electrical nature. He says the dark matter is astral emotional matter, meaning it carries an emotional substance and has a magnetic nature. So we kind of have a little bit of head start kind of looking at this. We don't know exactly everything yet, but through Dr. Baker's information, we can see that a majority of our universe is mental energy. And then another larger part is the emotional magnetic, which is bringing together all these forces that will create the physical, right? So it's kind of cool. And we have a lot more to discover in the future, that's for sure. So I hope today I shed a little bit of light and revealed some of the hidden secrets and esoteric nature of our universe and ourselves. These fundamental particles that make up all matter and life in our universe are the tiny points of light that shine both within and without us. And as Jesus said at his Sermon on the Mount, you are the light. And now we know he meant it literally. The end.